goodness. Well, hello. This is technically my second time streaming because the first time I started streaming, I hit start and then was like, oh, interesting, and then hit stop. So I didn't really, stream the first time, but if you caught a glimpse of that, congratulations. Here I am, probably talking to nobody, but you know what? Hello to y'all that are there. But yeah. So, the main reason that I'm streaming today is to talk about the first drop of this track that just came out a few days ago. Yeah, a few days ago, I guess, like 7 days ago. It's a little bit of a house beat and a little bit of techno influence. The first drop's what I'm going to talk about today. For a couple of reasons, it kind of sets off the whole thing. Sets up the entire atmosphere of the track to grow from. A little bit older of a track, so some of my production techniques from this time until now are different. But this is what I was working with, and this is what came out. So here's where we're at. First of all, kick drum, a little bit bassier of a kick drum, a little like tick. Right. You got your hi-hats. This here is actually probably the most important hi-hat that I have as far as explaining what's going on in the first drop, right? And it's because it creates all the distance for everything else to sit in. So before I get into it, I'm going to explain why is this distance important. So to me, this distance is important, or space, I guess you'd call it. This distance is important because this will create priority of what your ears pick up and where you're kind of going. It'll also kind of set the pace of the room that you're in, imaginatively, so to speak. It'll be like, wow, this is a big track, or this is really tight track, how big it is. So the more space that you have, or the more distance that it has in it, obviously the bigger space it feels like a cavern or an empty warehouse or a tight little closet or whatever, So based on how your sounds are placed and what sounds you choose, you kind of get that effect. I really love the industrial techno styles because it does a great job of portraying distance in instruments. Oh man. I love when a techno track has features in it that the kick drum's going, for example. And then you hear distant little right, and the reason I love that is because you're just whoa, the kick drum's right in your face, and then you have these little details that kind of just are you're almost where is that from? Almost like it echoes through a hallway or a chamber that's in the distance, you know what I mean? And what that does is it makes the track interesting to me. I love that. So again, there's that really important hat. And the reason I think it's important is because, first of all, it's a little offbeat. I don't know, it comes out of nowhere, but also it's right in your face, which makes the next noise. Super far away. Super far away. And I really think that that's cool. So again, we got your hat. Distance. Space, space is important. And without without these details too, I want to point out that like without these details, I mean, this track really does get boring real fast. Without all these little like sway back and forth. Now the importance of this is like finding good sounds. First of all, you want to find sounds that kind of fill the space or sit in the tone that you want. Like trying to force something into a space is, you can sometimes make it work, but for the most part there's enough noise in the world that you can figure out how to find a good one. Fit that like a little dullness to it, a little bit of like not so much high noise, like high-end information will make it sound like it's farther away or buried. It's, you know, it's a very good technique. I am going to go through these a little bit and show you that these are pieced together like tap, 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 tap. All kinds of different noises that kind of seem randomly placed, but they're important in their own fashion. And each of these channels have a little bit of different processing done on them differently to give them effects. Like some of them pan left to right. Some of them have filters and delays and reverbs. And like this, for example, has a delay on it, as well as some of this to kind of create this sweeping back and forth, which is one of my favorite effects of this first drop, right? Everything kind of has an echo to it, but this one, very nice, right? It gives it a little more distance because it fades away to someplace. And you have this little like sweeping up noise. It's really intense. So these two are fantastic because they are very different in personality. And if you have a full-bodied sound like this second one compared to where this first one almost kind of has no low end to it, you could say like it has some low information going on, but if you, it's just almost with nothing else. It just, there's not really, you know, like it's super kind of dry in a way of speaking. And it's not dry, it has processing on it that's like making it what it is. But then after that noise with whatever's going on, then you get this sound, which is just, it's not much louder, but it has all this other frequency going on, all this other low-end information and stuff, right? Whoa. You can hear that like, whoa. It's super, super deep, which gives it depth. So, right back to the techno clicks. Another important feature of this, which gives it all the space and distance, is this rolling bass line. Like it has some effects on it that make it get all digital, and then come back down to this other space, and it kind of brings it forward and moves it back in the space of everything, which is really cool because it makes this sound feel like it's traveling front and back, which will then in turn leave instruments up front and pull instruments to the front as it moves, and also leave them in the back as it comes back forward. So that's it. It goes all filtered. It kind of feels like it's buried, and that really comes into play when very cool. Love it. And right into soft chords. The soft chords are really important too, because if they were too harsh, it would almost just create a different distance in the track as well. But the way that this lands, it almost makes it just like it's the prioritized instrument, but it's so soft that it still feels like it could be a little bit further away, which feels very nice. So yeah, one more time we're gonna go through that first drop, and we'll just let you listen to it, and like I'll go through all the details, and yeah, just pulling into the recording right after that, and yeah, I mean, for those of you who see this video and enjoyed this, I hope you follow me and you stick around for more. There's gonna be much more of this coming, so hopefully you stick around. I love those plugs too. I didn't really go into the plugs. They're kind of like in the high register, but still like in a distant, space. And they make a lot of cool effect for everything else. By the way, I love cinnamon sugar toast. It's fantastic. It really is some of my favorite stuff ever. I really dig this. I really dig this style of music, this style of like smooth house. Softness just kind of like dissipates into softness. I love that so much. So yeah, that's kind of like how I made that first drop. Like I could go into more detail if you're interested. I can go into more detail about the filters and the EQs and actually the development of those sounds. But what the focus of this was to really talk about distance and the space and why I like that kind of effect in music that I make so much. I think that difference in almost location of near and far is one of the most important aspects of music that you can pay attention to. It'll give your songs so much detail that will at least catch my ear, and I'm sure much, much more. As far as everything else that's coming up in the track, I will be making more videos of these next couple drops here in the future, and we'll go a little bit more into these details. But for now, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.